Welcome to the Earth Your Wild podcast. We're your hosts, Jack and Ellie.
This is the podcast where we talk to industry experts and sustainable business owners to try to answer the question, how do I make my business more sustainable? So today we're joined by Natalie Welch from the Typeface Group. Natalie is the owner and co-founder of the Typeface Group. The Typeface Group is a B Corp communications agency and design studio. They simplify complex comms and support marketing teams in the housing, clean energy and construction sectors. Natalie is also a TEDx speaker, strong woman competitor, vice chair of Hampshire FA Inclusion Advisory Board and St. Michael's Hospice ambassador. Welcome to the podcast, Natalie.
Thanks
for joining us.
Me. Thank you.
So we watched your amazing TEDx talk recently. It's really good.
Yeah.
And I didn't really want to go too off piece, but we wondered if you could maybe tell us more about this idea of labels, because it's super interesting. It's a different insight we've not really come across.
Yeah, well, I think it's that thing that we all judge people, right? Whether we like to admit it or not. We look at them and we make some judgments and we automatically give them labels, maybe by how they present themselves or how they introduce themselves, like, oh, you must be confident, things like that. Not obviously not talking about the horrible dark ones that are offensive. I'm talking about those initial judgment calls that we make, those first impressions. And I just got thinking about the ones that we give people that we think are compliments. But then how society perceives those words might actually make them not work positively for the person. So like in my talk, I say about how one of my labels is strong, but for many, many, many decades, I thought that meant I couldn't reach out for help because I'm supposed to be the strong one who can deal with all this stuff. And, without giving too many spoilers away, it led to a point where I'm like, I can't do this by myself anymore. And I learned actually how to reimagine that label for myself. Now, for others, it might mean something else. But what I'm not going to do is force my expectations and what strong is onto someone. But if I feel that they're probably using it as a negative way to not either get help or reach out for help or support, I will give them permission that strong is also brave, and being brave means asking for help, acknowledging this is too much, or I shouldn't be doing this. Why am I doing this? And saying no to things. So other positive labels can be, speak to so-and-so, they're such a hard worker. And they're the ones that are burning out every 3 months because they think they've got to be the first one and last one in the office. I know, we don't necessarily work in that type of way anymore, but they'll be the ones that say yes to anything that you give them and will people please because they're the hard workers. They're the one that need to live up to that expectation. So it's about how we use positive labels actually in a negative way for ourselves and trying to break ourselves free from that and working out why we started doing that and unlearning. So that we can use them for the good that they should be.
Yeah. Like I suppose it can be really empowering if you could be mindful of it and sort of set your own labels. But like I said, at the same way, I suppose it can also be really negative as well if you're not mindful of it, I suppose.
Perfectionists, isn't that one of the everything you do is perfect? Perfectionism is really bad, isn't it? Because you're never satisfied. So it must be nice when someone goes, oh my God, that you're perfect, or that works perfect, or how you do that is just perfect. It's not then thinking, oh my God, everything I've got to do now has got to be perfect, because nothing's perfect. So it's kind of making sure that when we're even giving labels to other people, kind of setting the expectation of what we mean by that, so that they don't then run away with it and make up another story in their head over there based on what society might be telling them that label or word means. So it was kind of a rabbit hole I fell down when TEDx went, oh, we want you to speak, and I'm like, what about? And they're like, well, there's all these things, and I found this common thread throughout, and I'm like, okay, that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to just sow this seed and see where it goes.
I feel like strong is a is a strange word, really. Like I've had people say to me, "Oh yeah, you're so strong," and it's often used when, you know, you have something awful happen to you. People say, "Oh, you're such a strong person," you know,
Yeah.
and
To
it's
deal with
almost
that.
like a backhanded compliment, isn't it? Because
Yeah.
no, you kind of think, well, I haven't got any choice here. I have to be strong. So,
Yeah.
Suppose
you
you
know,
can't choose to be strong, can you? Sometimes you.
no, it's
Yeah.
and I just find it a really strange thing to say in those situations. I guess it's how you use the word and maybe how you interpret it. But sometimes I can't think of another that word. I think is strange. I think I prefer the word brave, maybe, like you mentioned.
100%.
Because strong. I don't know, maybe it's how you use it. But yeah. But then how do you view that word now? Because obviously you've done your strong woman competitions, which is amazing. I mean, that's what
and I'm like, well, if I'm gonna
that's
have
what it's
this
labeled.
label.
Why did you decide to do that?
Well, I decided to do that. So in it was 2018, I started training with the world's strongest woman at that time, Farah Fonseca, and I'd come out of a terrible relationship where I wasn't allowed to do anything, and I felt completely, terribly unstrong. I wouldn't say weak coming through that, because people tell me I'm strong for having dealt with that. So I get what you mean. And I'm like, well, no, I've survived it. I wouldn't say, so I've always been physically active, like as a child, like in my teens up to uni. I played netball. I had a stint when I was running a lot, gave that up. And when I started training with Farah, to kind of almost reimagine my labour, but also to get that belief in me that I'm still physically strong, because I was still building my mental strength at the same time, I realised actually you are quite strong. It isn't just a cliche. And so 6 months training with her, actually joined a strength gym, and entered my first strongwoman competition. And so then in June 2019, I won Basingstoke Strongest Novice, which I had no expectations for. I was one of the oldest in the field, you know. I was just like, oh, I'm just doing it. And I was like, okay. All right, okay, let's see where this goes. And obviously we had a bit of a pandemic that came in, so it paved some of the competitions that I was hoping to do, sort of went away. And then when everything started to come back, I was in my 40s. That meant I moved into the masters categories for certain competitions, which is an open weight category. And I've always competed in the lightweight, so the under 65 kilograms. So I decided I'm just going to try the national pathway for the tested side of the sport. So it's completely natural, because strongman and strongwoman isn't a tested sport, the main route. So I went down the naturals. I thought, well, I might have a slight chance of doing all right. And then became the 6th strongest master in Britain in 2022. So last year. This year I've had a bit of a year off because I've had loads of other things going on, and it is only a hobby for me. So it's not anything I intend to conquer the world in. But yeah, the community within is unbelievable, because you have men and women and non-binary people and trans people, all shapes, sizes, at different stages of their journey. And it's, although you're competing against each other, actually you're competing against your mind for most of it, because if you can get your mindset right, you can accomplish anything. And the community is what does it for me, and I love it. I've got WhatsApp groups of strong women, and where we're just empowering each other to stay injury free, firstly, especially at my age. And when we hear that someone's done a great lift or whatever, it's just beautiful. It's none of this like sniping bitchiness that you sometimes think there might be in women's sport in particularly, and the men who are now paving the way for the women's side of the sport. It's just beautiful to see, because I've not really seen that in many walks of life, especially in my previous sports that I used to play. Not too competitively. So yeah, the community just makes it such a makes it an empowering place to be, to go and try and do even better for yourself. So
yeah, it's interesting you say that, because we we had a guest on earlier on in the season, and obviously this podcast is really about like sustainability and how businesses can be sustainable, and her concept was really that it's the people in a business or in a group that really kind of drive whatever you're trying to do, or drive sustainability. So
totally.
do you think that's kind of shaped your experience, has shaped like how you lead in your company and in your industry?
Yeah, we champion, one of our values is being transparent, right? So the Nat you see now is the Nat that you see in the boardroom, not that we have a physical boardroom on our board Zoom, or you know, in a sales pitch or on the TEDx stage. You know, there's not a different, it's obviously a different hat, but the mask is still the same. We really try and ensure that our values are that people who come to work for us can show up as themselves. And that's whether they're having a great day, a bad day, you know, an indifferent day. The values is what drives what we do and makes it so authentic, and is what excites our clients, because it's not just a tick box exercise. It's not just about getting the B Corp plaque that we've got. It's actually living and breathing those values and showing that there's actually still room, and there is always room for improvement, as you know, we learn more and about sustainability and the different things that we can do to make things even better. It's a never evolving beast, isn't it? So it's so important that our team are on that journey with us, and because it's led from the top down, which we hate the thought that there's a hierarchy, but you know, if in any business, if the leaders and the managers aren't living, breathing it, talking about it all the time, you can't expect your team to either. So it came from, it was born out of the values that me and Polly had anyway. Then one Friday night, was Polly was having a glass of wine, she did the quick impact, you know, assessment on the B Corp website. It was like, okay, we're not far off, we should actually give this a go. And then we worked with Nancy Hine, who's a B leader, and then by October 2021, it was quite quick. I think we did it within 6 months. We were amazing B Corp certified.
Yeah, that's brilliant.
So yeah, it would, but it just came from, okay, we do this, we live it, we breathe it. How can we really show, other than talking about it, how can we really show that we're serious about this stuff? And B Corp doesn't it? Because you literally write it into your company's house that this is one, this, you're bound by law that you're going to do these things. So and everyone in the team lives and breathes it as well and believes in it. And that's one of the key points when we're hiring. It's kind of like, do you know what B Corp is? Do you know what it stands for? You know, this sort of backs up everything that we do at the Typeface Group.
Yeah, sounds amazing. Do you see yourself as a compassionate leader?
Does it come across that way? Yes, I am. I'm one of these people that don't, I had to learn this. Try not to rescue people, because that used to be my easy default mode. I will sit down in the mud and just be there whilst someone needs it. You know, I think listening is one of those skills that everyone likes to think they have, but I'm not sure that they do. And as someone who's actually half deaf, listening is really important. So it's, and I'm very conscious about trying to respond too quickly. If someone's talking about something, I really like to listen and process before I speak. So whereas some people don't like the silence that might bring, I feel it's really important to give whatever might have been said some air, so that you know, we can breathe and then come together. So yeah, being a compassionate leader to, you know, whatever it might be, I think is a key thing to getting trust with your employees, and for them to feel psychologically safe as well. You know, if you want to have a truly non-judgmental culture, you need to allow your team members to come to you with anything, and for you to sometimes not say anything back.
Yeah, definitely.
Because it helps build that kind of vulnerability that I think you probably need. in a company. I think if you want to like develop purpose as well, it's probably quite an important foundation.
Yeah, I think one of the most important questions you can ask someone who might be being open and vulnerable to is like, you know, obviously saying thank you for them trusting you with that information, but rather than trying to give them their advice, say, what do you need from me right now?
Yeah.
Because sometimes they don't need anything, they just needed that moment. Sometimes they do want some support or advice, or, you know, some time off or whatever, but actually not presuming what they need, asking them, what do you need from me right now?
Yeah, it's very easy to want to fix a problem. I think you probably said that, didn't you? But in that moment when someone says something, you think, oh, we can do this, we can do that.
Yeah.
But
But what do you need? Do you need some time off? Do you need do you need a cuddle? Do you need a coffee? What do you need? And they're just like, I haven't even finished what we're saying. Yeah.
Got where we are now. The next question.
Yeah,
absorbing what we were talking about.
I was quite after watching your TEDx talk, I was kind of wondering, like, how did you end up setting up Typeface Group? So how did you end up going into that industry?
Yeah, I think it's an interesting story. It's quite funny. So I was working in recruitment for this and was about to go on maternity leave. Polly, my co-founder, she was offering marketing services to some small businesses local to her. She'd been doing that for a few years because she started doing that when she was on maternity leave and didn't go back to her previous role. And she phoned me one day and said, did you know you can be employed and self-employed whilst on maternity leave? Because I had a rubbish maternity package. So I was intending to go back really quickly somehow and start earning some money again, although trying not to think about childcare costs at the same time. She said that and I was like, oh, okay, right. And she goes, oh, and I know you do social media for your recruitment company. This is like 12 years ago now. So it was quite a new thing for businesses to start promoting themselves on social media. And she goes, my clients are starting to ask, what is this social media thing? Should they be doing it? So, you know, if you wanted to, that's how you could earn some extra cash. You just set up as freelance, etc. And I'm like, okay, let me have my baby, see what they're like, and we'll talk again. So I went into labour that night, had my son the next day.
Got on with things.
Well, this sounds too good to be true. Let's get this out of the way. Had my son the next morning, and then 6 weeks later, I set up as a freelance alongside Polly, offering social media marketing services to her clients, and you know, us sort of bringing clients and cross-pollinating. And then 6 months later, we incorporated the Typeface Group. Whilst Polly was pregnant with her second, I still had a 6-month-old, and we were like, "Are we mental?" We're like, "Yes, we are." And so the way we sort of worked around that is when Polly had her second, we had a nanny share through which we could run through the business because both directors needed it. And so we had the amazing Rebecca who came in. Becky, she hated being called Rebecca. She came in for 15 hours a week, literally sat in Polly's front room with the babies whilst we were in the kitchen typing away, chatting to people, or popping down to the coffee shop to have meetings. And she would just bring the kids in to be fed and then scuttle off and take them away again. And that's how we started the business, literally around Polly's kitchen table with our own childcare support. I've known Polly since year 7, so we've known each other a long time. You would see us as yin and yang. We're two very different people, although both water signs, so you'd think it would work. So we know each other's strengths and weaknesses through years and years of knowledge of being around each other. And so we celebrated 10 years this year of the Typeface Group. Like my son's 11. Her 2 kids are like her youngest is starting secondary school next year. It just seems such a long time ago. Yeah, we've still got quite young kids. There's 8 in the business now, and yeah, it's just I'm so glad that the culture that we have built from day one is that we care about our families, as in our own families. We don't use the word, oh, come to the Typeface Group, we're a family type culture.
Yeah.
No, because some people's families are quite toxic, right? But I would say we're a family first business where you put your family first. So someone's sick, fine, go sort them out. You need to take them to chemo, do that, go. There's no question or shadow of a doubt, because that's what me and Polly would do. Polly, her mother-in-law passed away with pancreatic cancer. Polly took her to chemo like 2-3 times a week. My mum passed away with lung cancer. I was there for every appointment that she would let me go to, and there until the end. It's just, it's not even a question that you would go and look after your family, if you like them, first. You know, rather than going, oh, I've got to speak to my boss about that. It's like, just go. So yeah, it is it's just the way we've built it and how we want it to be for us forevermore. That's why we close at Christmas. I'm not working over Christmas. Me and Polly don't want to work over Christmas. I'm not going to make you work over Christmas. We'll just close. The business closes. Don't make you take your holiday at Christmas either. We just close. That's your holidays for the other time of the year. We just close. So even if you don't celebrate Christmas, it doesn't matter. You get a week and a bit off over this time to not celebrate if you don't want to. It's absolutely fine as well. But Polly and I we're not working. We don't expect anyone else to do it.
Nice.
Yeah, sounds like you built a really great culture. It's really, it's really
Sounds
nice.
Badass.
Yeah. Do you approach like, going back to like the labels and stuff? Do you approach like shaping a company's labels in a similar way? Do you?
I think
what you do.
Yeah, it's like, when you see job ads and you see how companies label themselves. But there's no substance behind it. You just feel they're just using words that are trendy at the time. And it's like, you've got to be able to describe yourself. But I think trying to label yourself, so like example, people who might call themselves eco-friendly, but there's no substance behind it. Of course there are these words that we need to build trust and to be found, SEO, and to appeal to our customers. But if there's no substance behind them, they are just words or labels, rather than this is what we are and this is what it means to us. You recognize this word, but this is how we this is how we live it. This is what it means to us, because it might be different for someone else over here. You can get to eco-friendly or sustainable businesses and they're completely different in how they operate.
I was interested to hear your thoughts on the whole kind of greenwash kind of
problem
debate. Problem, because obviously it's rife. Most people see through it, and obviously from you're helping people build their brands, right? Marketing. So you're helping them shape, I guess, their image in public. How do we deal with that? I mean, what would happen if a company came to you and they were like, we want to become eco-friendly or something in our marketing, but they're clearly not?
We've turned work away.
Really? Wow.
We've had customers that have come to us. This is a product we sell. And we're like, okay, and we've asked them all the questions to see if there's a angle that actually fits in with it. It's got to fit with our values, not necessarily what they hope to be seen as. But we have turned work away or ended relationships because we've realized actually that's not true, because we've made a promise, not only to the planet, that sounds a bit doesn't it, but also to our team, to not work with people that aren't representative of what we truly stand for. And so if we then started taking work from people who don't have the same value mindset, that would be greenwashing ourselves, right? So we've actually turned down work for people that are not in our value range. And with the clients that we do work with, that are purpose driven, we're just really conscious that we're like, okay, you're saying this, but can you back it up? You know, it's like you can't just say it. And actually we are fortunate, the clients we're working with who also have the same values as us, because they've done a journey like we have. So they know that greenwashing is much more detrimental than, you know, maybe just waiting a bit longer to know how to explain something. I do feel green hushing is just as horrible, because there are companies that are doing B Corp, for example, that aren't perfect. None of us are perfect. The reason why we're doing it is because we're trying to be better. And it's almost that it's got to be progress over perfection, because there's certain stuff in our business that we haven't sorted out yet because it's just too much at the moment, and we know we've got to do it because it will make such a difference. Our banking, for example, let's not go there, but we've seen people that have recently become B Corp, and then there's been like people going, oh my god, I've just checked your website and it's dirtier than 80% of the other website. Okay, that's one thing. What you haven't seen is that their governance, their culture, the people they work with, like, you know, you start somewhere, then you know where you need to improve. So I feel that green hushing means that people who are doing good work that might not be perfect are not talking about their journey either. So we're not getting the good examples of not greenwashing, because there are this contingent, a very small percent of the internet, to be fair, that are too quick to jump and judge.
Yeah, it's interesting because we do actually have a quite a big household brand that we are working with, and we try and, well, we obviously we're helping people reuse cardboard boxes, so we track the impact, so we give them the impact savings. And this particular brand, they're not confident sharing that. Obviously we try and get anyone that works with us, try and share the message, because you know, you could get some of your network involved as well, and ultimately what we do is a good thing, but they weren't confident sharing it on social media because they were worried about the backlash of, you know, people that want to nitpick it and critique it.
Particularly hard for larger companies, I think, where, you know, people can just, especially with social media, I guess people can just jump on there, and it's their image as well, I guess.
It takes confidence and bravery, right? Because if you look at, I guess, the stance of people like Innocence Movies have done, right? So they've become B Corp. They use plastic bottles, right? So but what you've got to do is almost be honest on where you're not great.
Transparency.
It's that transparency of, look, like almost putting it out there before you can get nitpicked at. We know that X, Y, and Z, and this is why I think with B Corp the impacts reports are really great, because it's going, and this is what we're going to work to in the next year. You know, we know this stuff still needs to be worked on, so this is what we're going to do, and this is how we're going to get there. This is especially from big brands, they could do a 1, 2, and 5 year plan of what they're working on, because they can't move as quickly as, say, we can, where we can be like, right, okay, we're just not doing that anymore. You know, they've got a whole supply chain that they need to think of, so it's not as quick to just go, oh well, we're only going to use suppliers that have this type of accreditation, when they've already got the stuff being made down the production line. So I think the only advice I'd give to business like that is you've just got to be honest where you know your holes are, and what you're going to do to eventually do better in those areas. But you should also be screaming about the great things that you're doing. I suppose an example is like Shell, right? I know, but they sponsored London Pride. They also they are building all these EV charging, like petrol stations where you can, you know, along service stations. I'm not saying they're great. They're obviously stuff they're doing to the planet is terrible.
I have low sympathy for Shell.
No, I have no sympathy for them either. But they're talking about it. They're talking about the good stuff that they're doing. They're not shying away from the backlash of but you're still drilling holes. And I'm not, by the way, I'm not advocating for them. I'm just showing.
Oh, sorry. I thought you said they were green hushing. So you're saying they're not. No. They're doing the opposite. They're like, we're great.
Well, they're almost talking about all the green stuff they're doing without worrying about the backlash. And their backlash, because they know. And I suppose for companies that are worried about it, it's like, well, you're not going to be as bad as those guys, are you?
Mm.
So
I think also, like I always say to people, being alive is bad for the planet. So
yeah,
there's no point having any concern about the negative impact of your business, because there's always going to be a negative impact, but there's always also going to be some things that we could be doing better, and we might as well tackle them and talk about them and work with people.
Everything we do is digital, and the digital space emits more greenhouse emissions than the aviation industry.
Yeah, it's insane.
So we know everything we do has a negative impact on the planet. So what we're doing is trying to reduce people's marketing waste, so that there's at least there's a purpose for it, where it might make a lead or a conversion, or there has to be a balance, because none of us are going to be carbon neutral individuals. We're sitting on laptops that are plugged in, so we have to just realize that businesses aren't either. They're going to be offsetting their carbon somehow, so no one's going to be perfect. So let's celebrate businesses that are trying to be better, because that's got to be something. So yeah, it's that thing that, like, especially every tweet, every Instagram post, every email we send has a carbon emission, and I don't think anyone's thinking about that, and how many emails are sat in your sent items that you haven't cleared down. That's sitting on a server that needs energy. So let's look at, it's almost like, let's look at what we can clean up ourselves before we're like,
what do you think is the easiest way to kind of reduce your digital footprint then? Because it is a huge thing that, like you say, gets forgotten about.
It's still a big misconception. Like, a lot of people still don't realize the impact.
It's kind of out of sight, isn't it? Out of mind almost.
Exactly. Or we're thinking, those stories that only last 24 hours on Instagram, now they're sat there in an archive. Instagram aren't going to delete them for you. You've got to go and delete them, So I fell down a massive rabbit hole. I blame Polly. She opens the rabbit hole, and I'm like, oh, okay, I'm in here. And so in March this year, we set up the Digital Cleanup Challenge in run up to Digital Cleanup Day, to try and help people think, okay, just small actionable insights that and tasks that people can do to just make them rethink their internet habits. And it's things like your emails. If it's under 5 words, do you need to send it? Do you need to say thank you? Is that out of office just because you're not at your desk for a day? Need to be on? So all those things, just by not doing them anymore, could have really great impact over time. And if everyone in your company did that, that would have a really great impact quicker. So it is about doing something. Like, I know we're in a climate crisis and we've got to make some changes, but if everyone had better internet habits, it would make a hell of an impact. Just doom scrolling.
Yeah. So a lot of this relates back to kind of quite unhealthy or invaluable habits as well. Sending pointless emails and pointlessly scrolling through social media and leaving your computer turned on overnight, that kind of thing.
Even Zoom calls. So if you're having team meetings on Zoom every week, you know what each other look like, right? So an hour's Zoom meeting can have up to, I think it was like 1,500 grams of carbons emitted. If you turn off your videos, 96% less.
Wow, that's huge.
Yeah,
that's big.
And that's it. That's not even getting into the nitty-gritty of what type of device one person is using and all that type of stuff. That's just on average. Just reducing your screen brightness by 30% can have a hell of an impact. And these little things we put in the challenge just to make people think, okay, if I'm having a Zoom meeting, 3 Zoom meetings a week with the team for an hour, we're now going to have saved X amount of carbon by just saying hello to everyone quickly, just check, almost like just checking whites of eyes, no one's upset, right, let's turn off our cameras. It's those things. if more corporations got involved, you could save thousands of tons of carbon a year. So that's where we kind of, well, I fell down the rabbit hole. I made a spreadsheet so people could track it, and then I'm like, oh, someone saved enough carbon for the next year to drive to Edinburgh back in a diesel car. Well done, that person, you know. And if everyone did that, how far could we drive? You know, it's those it is just getting into the head to make people realize that all of these things have an impact. So when they're green hushing someone on LinkedIn, they're like, do you know how much carbon you've just wasted here?
Yeah, that's true.
Could you have done something else with your negativity? Yeah. Trolls have wasted X amount of carbon, you know. So yeah, there's lots of little easy things that people can do once they know what they are.
I think as well, I mean, a lot of people say, you know, you need to stop focusing on like the daily habits and focus on the bigger opportunities to reduce impact. But I do think it's good, because if you get people to make it top of mind with their daily habits, it becomes, you know, it's always there, this challenge. It sort of, you know, people can connect over it, and it stops us forgetting. I think.
Yeah, it's like I can't stop the amount of clothes that go into landfill, right? I can sign petitions, I can write a letter to my MP and all that, right? Fine. But what I can do is make my digital habits better and teach my son better digital habits. And, you know, hopefully, you know, even if out of the 100 people that are doing the challenge at the moment, 50 of them reduce their internet, you know, have 50% better internet habits. That's a lot of carbon that just has been saved by something that doesn't really negatively impact you. And that's on some of the things like this, you know, by not doom scrolling, you're probably going to feel happier as well as, you know, it's a win-win situation. There's no loser in this. So yeah, it's and that's part of the ethos of what we offer people. It's like, why are you posting that? What do you need to be a company on Instagram because you're in the renewable waste energy, you know, industry? Is that where your customers, clients are? If you were going on there as an education type thing, fine, but you haven't got any content for that. So let's not, you know, open up all these accounts everywhere and start TikToking when it's just not right for you, and you'll just be, not saying that you shouldn't try different things, but they should be with a purpose and a focus and a strategy, not just willy-nilly. There should be thought behind it and a reason.
Totally agree.
Okay, so have a kind of a question we always like to ask. So it's kind of what we like to say is where do you see the world in 10 years? But also it's kind of where do you, I guess you could have two sides of it. You could have where do you think it's going to be, and where would you like it to be in 10 years?
I would like it to just be a kinder place. There's so much division and hatred going on at the moment that I think it's stopping people focusing on, not all people, but doing good work. It's either holding people back, making them afraid, rather than no, we need to keep pushing forward. So I would hope in 10 years time everyone's got more compassion for people just living the lives that want to live nice and peacefully, and are kinder to others. It's a more inclusive environment where AI hasn't taken over the world in a terrible way. I hope by that point we've got leadership in place as well that are making huge strides towards our planet not internally combusting, because the focus is on dividing and hatred rather than we all need to come together to try and survive. Like we need to make some serious changes if our grandchildren's grandchildren are going to have any hope of the type of planet that we've had the privilege to live on, being here. So and I live in hope, so that's what I hope. We've probably had to make some sacrifices to make the world a better place for people that we're not going to see, but we've all come together and there's more kindness and love in the world.
I hope
beautiful.
that's, yeah. I hope you're right.
I think you're right. Definitely, there's a leadership problem. You know.
Yeah.
And I definitely, yeah, I don't know. I guess it's social media. Would you say, well, you're an expert in it. Would you say it's social media that's kind of making everything so unhealthy and so divisive? And
yeah, social media, I think the media as well. Like I've seen shows that were quite balanced being cancelled because all of a sudden they're seen as too woke and lefty, and I'm like, it's just the current way that people who that don't look a certain way are portrayed in the media is just disgusting. And the rhetoric behind that. I used to absolutely love Twitter. I am going down with that ship. I still have an account over there, but what I see over there is it's been overtaken by people who hate anyone who's not like themselves, and the way that trans people are being vilified, and with the girl that was stabbed in Croydon recently, then have all the racists come out. It's just disgusting. And that is being amplified by our media and our government.
Yeah.
And until that changes and there's some radical education, I fear for kids who might live in families that aren't that open to going, okay, this is what's being said, that is not true, or this is how it should be said, or, you know, there's not those conversations being had at home, which means we're going to end up with more girls stabbed because they've said no to flowers from a boy. So yeah, my hope is that there's a revolution coming. And that there's a generation of people, some in my generation, but definitely some in the generations that are below me, I don't know, younger than me, that are not going to put up with it, that are like nah, and they are a beautiful force to be reckoned with, and I wholeheartedly support them and will be there whenever it happens. I'm ready.
Pitchforks ready.
Yeah, exactly. I'm ready for it. But it is being perpetuated by the media, and I think the thing is, because I'm, you know, in the marketing world, I can see when we're being spun a story. So it's just like, but that's not how it is it? And it's disgusting. You know, that's why people don't really watch the news anymore, because it's just like this is just dire. This is awful, and you're not helping. So yeah, that's my soapbox political rant.
Do you think, just a really quick question, do you think as businesses we should be engaging in like business activism and you know, joining, I don't know, groups
starting
like
revolutions,
well,
that kind of thing?
I don't know, you've got like Extinction Rebellion or
yes, I think you need to
business declares.
Well, that's more of a
it's a value-based thing, right? You again, it's that thing of if this is what you truly believe, this is what you should be talking about and entering discussions about it. And you can do it in a really gentle way. You don't have to be, you know, these people are beeps. You know, it can be, okay, we've seen this in the media. This is just not cool. This is not cricket. As this business, we do not agree with, you know, because that is what younger generations are looking for when working for a company. They're looking for someone who politically aligns with them as well, to feel psychologically safe. They want to know that I can go in and talk about my beliefs and not be judged, ridiculed, or another. We've always been very open. Actually, politics is not off topic in our office, and we've had people from varying views, and we've listened all with respect. But I think if you came into the office now, not that we physically have one, we're all very much on the same hymn sheet of what we think should happen next. So it's I feel that if you're not saying anything, you're on the side of the oppressor. It's very much you can't sit on the fence. You need to pick a side.
I think there is this kind of thing. There's this kind of thing these days where a lot of the time, like you can't have a conversation with someone you disagree with on something, And I think it's really unhealthy somehow. You know, I think some of the best conversations are actually when you have it with someone with a completely different polarizing view.
Totally. I have conversations, and I do read people who have completely different views, and then I look at where that view may come from. And if it's just born out of hatred, I'm like, okay, you're never going to turn everyone who have a fear-based hatred into seeing something else. So you can only work with the people that have trust in you and might listen to your side of the well, it's not even often a debate, right? I hate it when they say, oh yeah, there's trans debate, and it's like, it's not a debate, these are people's lives. But it's like, you can have gentle conversations with people who don't necessarily agree. I do it all the time, and I think it's knowing where then your boundary is with that particular person, so that in the future, if that comes up, you don't have a flare up. Because if you're both very different views on something that's quite real or you're passionate about, it can end up butting heads. And it's okay to have differing views as long as you both respect each other's differing views. If then it comes across like as you're wrong or you're wrong, that's when you start having
it's almost like entering into that discussion with compassion, isn't it? And knowing that, knowing how far to go, I guess, or
and a lot of, I think, of the hate is fear-based that's been spun over here. And you can't, you know, I'm not a psychologist, I can't help someone unlearn all their hatred and fear, but I can, if they're open to it, try and make them see a different view. But if they're not open to it, there's no point in me wasting my energy. You know, I did an anti-racism course with Nova Reid, which is brilliant. And she's like, I'm never going to convert the people in the white hats, right? They're racist, and I know to avoid them. I know to avoid racists. As soon as someone is being racist, I know I should avoid them. It's the ones that say they're liberal in the middle that I'm trying to speak to help them do a little bit more, to advocate, or to highlight that as a white person, actually, I still have racist views because I learned them, not because I wanted them. And so I need to recognize when that viewpoint is coming in and check myself and go and learn more and do better next time. So, you know, it's like, there's people on the far right you're never going to change, but then there's people in the middle that are probably just listening too much to one or the other, that you might be able to give them just a differing viewpoint to come a little bit more towards a different way of thinking.
And I think there are loads of companies sprouting up with different leadership as well, and I think really positive things are starting to change. Maybe not in government, but like there's lots of businesses like your business and our business, you know, the B Corp movement, where where people have those conversations. And I guess what happens is there's like what we're talking about is like values. There's like values gaps in society. I think maybe that's a problem. And I think if you can have the right leadership and have the right conversations, you sort of start to close them.
Totally. But I think they're really important conversations to encourage other businesses, that you can have these, and it doesn't have to get heated, it doesn't have to get nasty, but by also showing that you stand for something, it's only going to make you'll get a better diverse workforce, won't you? And work with companies who also align with your values. If you're a bit in the grey, then you're going to get people who are also in the grey, and
and I think also you can just have a better experience of your life, your everyday life. Everybody, you know, if we understand how to like run teams and communicate and how to
be better leaders.
Be better leaders.
I think we can all learn from each other. Like, I don't know how you guys have found the Beehive, but it's like it's a really rich community of people. And I think it's that we're all trying to champion each other. You might have other people that might do similar things in there, but they're still backing you because you know, they just want the planet to be a better place for everyone to live and work in. So
Yeah,
That's
the thing,
what obviously liked it.
the thing that we found was like anybody that we're speaking to in relation to B Corp, like everything's so positive. It's always like working together, thinking about solutions, having, talking around it. So yeah, more of that.
Yeah, definitely.
Community.
Definitely. Community is key, that's for sure. Okay, well, thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, no, thank you for joining us.
Thanks for listening to this week's episode of the podcast. We hope it was truly
Earth your while.
For more information, visit reuserbox.co.uk/Earth Your While.
And if you'd like to appear on the next series of Earth Your While, please email media@reuserbox.co.uk.